name is Alex Stadler. I'm a massage therapist, and this video is a stretch series, a little 5 series for people who do walking and running. It's just a good way to do a preventative maintenance to keep you from getting tightened in areas that runners normally get tight, and in such ways we can avoid injury, which is something we all want to do. So I'm going to start out on the floor, doing a couple of hip stretches. This is a very easy, simple stretch. Start here, arms on the V position. We'll cross and we'll go to the left-hand side first. Now, a lot of people have done this in yoga, and you move your head to the side. The stretch looks very familiar. What is most important is that you're keeping your shoulders on the floor. And also, as with any stretch, you want to make sure that you're taking deep breaths as you're stretching. You do not want to hold your breath. You feel it naturally open. Now, one way to get more out of the stretch if you're very tight in your hips, which sometimes I can be or anyone can be, is to do a little bit of what's called P&F, or proprioceptive neurofacilitation. I'm going to do a video later to talk more about that in depth. Basically, it's a way to get a little bit extra stretch out. You see the way that I'm laying here. This is about how far my hips wants to stretch. So what I'll do, I've got my hand here and my leg here. I'm going to actually put a little bit of pressure in this direction against my hand. I'm going to press that way, just lightly, for about 3 to 5 breaths. And then I'm going to release, and you'll notice that my hips open a little bit more. Now this is a way to get a little bit more out of your stretch. You do not want to push hard after this. You're just going to let it fall just like we naturally do. If you start and your hip doesn't move very far at all, you can do this up to 3 to 5 times. Biggest thing is just listen to your body. You don't want to overextend into the stretch. All right, it's a pretty good stretch. Now, very important, if you do use the P&F, and you want to use at least 15 to 30 seconds in between each time you do at the natural stretch, you don't just want to keep doing it over and over. It won't really work the way that you want it to if you do it that way. But when you do get to your final stretch, that's what's important with all stretches, is you want to hold it for a minute to 2 minutes. Muscles have a memory, and how P&F works in general, like I said, I'll go into greater definition later, is that your body always knows where you are in space. And how it knows that where you are in space is it knows the length of the muscles. If you do a stretch for about 5-10 seconds, then you really aren't going to get the maximum benefit out of the stretch, because even though you get a little bit of distance out of it, you're not going to get the maximum benefit because your body remembers the length of that muscle. If you go between 30 seconds to a minute, then your body will remember that you've gone that new length, that you've got that new length programmed into your muscle memory, and you'll be able to keep that stretch for longer. Now you see, as I came back across, I set my leg open. One thing we want to do is we don't want to stretch all the way over here and then leave this. So I just brought it up here and just I'm doing a gentle relaxed stretch here. I'm not pushing on it, I'm just letting it open. Some people may be higher, some people may be lower, but that's where we're going to go. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Always want to do both sides. All right. Let's go into the stretch. Deep breathing. And I always tell people a good rule of thumb, if you have a trouble counting to 2 minutes, is about 10 to 15 deep breaths. It's going to be somewhere in that 1 to 2 minute range, and this one's a little bit tighter, so I'm going to go ahead and use the P&F. I'm pressing against. I'm going to go 5 breaths. And release. And I'll get a little bit more out here. I'm going to go ahead and let it sit there. I'm just going to do 30 seconds for the sake of our video, so you're not just sitting here watching me lay on the ground. Slowly, don't want to rush through. Point isn't a race, just to get us relaxed enough. Let this sit here for just a few seconds. The next stretch I'm actually going to do in this series is actually a groin stretch. If you think about the way that you run, you're usually using your quads and your glutes a lot, but you're also, for your stabilization, you're using your IT bands, which are on the outside of your legs, and you're using your inguinals and what are called the adductors, are the muscles that help to bring the leg toward the body. Okay. good way to sit up here, roll on one side, pull up and over. All right, and so we're going to go into a groin stretch. Now, a lot of people have done groin stretches by pulling out, and you can stretch that way, but it's a very high impact stretch. It's not easy for everyone. So the stretch I'm going to show you is a way to do this inguinal and groin stretch that is not incredibly high impact, but you can still get a lot out of it. So we're going to sit in this position here. Good thing to do whenever you're stretching out is to make sure that you got your spine kind of lined up. You can sit here kind of relaxed, open leg. Make sure you're sitting on your sit bones so that you're not all on one cheek or all on one side of your hip. Okay, and I'm going to get this leg here. Okay, I'm going to open up a little bit. You notice I'm not stretching both my legs. I'm not trying to do the splits. Splits, in fact, can be very damaging for some people. So I'm here. Okay, and now I can feel it right across this part of my leg, and this is the area that we're trying to stretch. So rather than me go hardcore into it this way, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stretch this way. I'm actually going to reach across, go down. I'm going to let my leg roll if it wants to, because again, I am trying to stretch this part of my leg. Okay, I'm there. My foot's relaxed. And I'm just going to lean this way a little bit. Okay, as I feel that start to dissipate, again, like I said, between each one of your individual stretches within a series of a direction of stretch, 15 to 30 seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, bring this leg out a little bit more. So it's almost in the direction of the splits, but I'm not stressing out both legs. I'm just doing this one side, getting this one area. Okay, move a little more over my hip, and I'm just relaxing. Use my arms to support myself. All right. And I'm going to do one more here in just a second. Just a little bit more. There. Notice that I'm moving my hips open, letting them open as well. All right. I can feel a good stretch in the inside of that leg, opening the groin up. Slowly get back up, and you may notice that I'm sitting a little bit more squarely already. I'll go this way. Just a little bit here. This side's a little bit tighter. Always get the breathing, deep, full, in and out breathing. Some people will breathe all the way into their chest and then they won't let all their air out. If that's a little easier for you. Come slowly. And you should be able to feel very comfortable in this kind of simple cross-leg position. All right. Now those are stretches obviously you're probably going to want to do at home, but these next set of stretches you can do those two. I would always put those two together. In there we're stretching a little bit of our glutes, and we're stretching a little bit of some of the muscles on the front and back of our legs, but we're mostly focusing on the IT bands, as I said, over here, and the angles and the groin muscles here, and adductors. So I always want to do this together because those balance against one another. So you don't want to stretch one side and not stretch the other. All right, next one, we're going to work a little bit on some of the low glute muscles that are actually going in this direction, and then also our hamstrings and a little bit of our calves here, and then we're going to do our quads. So I always say whenever you're going to do these, to do them together, and I always do the hamstrings first, and then I do the quads. So I'll go up, open up and stretch wide. Now when you go into a hamstring stretch, which is a toe touch, you want to leave the knees soft
definitely do not want to pull in the back. You do not want to pull down with your body using your abdominal flexors. What you just want to do is just want to hang, and then you can kind of slowly tighten up and let yourself stretch through the back of your legs. You do not want to pull so hard that you're just really straining. You should be able to breathe easily. And again, most people, when they first do this, you first wake up, you're not going to get your legs totally straight. So again, a way to get a little bit of extra out of it is to go down here. So what we're doing is we're flexing into it, so we're actually using the muscles that we're trying to stretch. 3 to 5. I'm going to come back up, and as you'll notice, after I use them, I'm getting a little bit more length out of them. Again, I'm going to sit here and stretch. Now, we're not using our low back, we're not using our back at all, we're just letting that open. We're not stretching that. We are stretching it, but we're not using the muscles at all to go into the stretch. Okay, I'm going to do the PNF one more time. I'm going into stretch. You see, I get my legs pretty close to stretch. I'm a really tall guy, so the hamstrings for me are one of those areas I have to constantly focus on. So you may be more straight, you may be less straight. But again, when we come out of this, we do not want to just lean straight back with our back. We'll go ahead and get over our legs.
We want to raise up using most of our quads. A lot of people will injure themselves when they're trying to bend forward. These muscles on our back really aren't good from coming up from the hip position like this. You really want to use your low legs to pull yourself up, so very important. All right, and after I said, we always want to do quad stretch after that. We just opened up the back side of our legs, so we want to open up the front side of our body as well. Now, I'll recommend for some people, you may not have a great sense of balance immediately. If you have some problems with your muscles and in your legs, you may find that you lose your balance when you try to do this. So I always recommend starting to get yourself a wall or a surface. Go up slowly. Okay, now you see a lot of people will be doing this. That's a very improper stretch. You want to make sure that you are keeping the knees close underneath the hips. You want to get the quad in line with the other side of the body. And you want to try, if you can, I'm going to go ahead and turn to my side, to get up to where you're touching into the glute. Now this is harder for some people, easier for others. When you get to the point where you're feeling like you've got a good sense of balance, you want to be able to do this just standing, relax knee, get the body in a line. You want to be as vertical as you can be, and breathe. Again, if you cannot get a lot out of the stretch, you can actually pull forward against your hand that you're holding with to get a little bit of, I'm activating these muscles, and now I'm relaxing. You're also getting a little bit across the hip here, you're loosening up there. You're going to want to hold this stretch for anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, at least 30 seconds, a minute if you can. All right, good stretch there. Go ahead, loosen my hips up a little bit there. One thing that you also may do is when you're pulling it up, you may tighten up in this side of the hip. You don't want to do that. You don't want to raise your hip when you're stretching your quads. You just want to stretch the front. So I'll do it on this side. I've got a little bit better balance than some. We pull the knees together. I want to be closer in that line. I do not want to be leaning forward. Loose. All right, those are the main stretches. Now some people cannot do that kind of a quad stretch, so if you'll come around with me, I'm going to show you a different way to do it. I've got these tables here, and these are adjustable for height, but if you have something in your house that will let you get to where you are about in a knee position, that's a little bit low, right there. So this is naturally about my knee height. You may have a couch, bed, chair, something that fits in this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch the front of this quad like I was just doing before, but without the lack of balance. So I'm going to slowly come forward on this leg. So you want something that you can lean on, it's very helpful. And I'm just going to stretch, trying to keep my knee under my shoulder, like so. And you can get a good stretch across this. It's also a good stretch for the groin as well, but only in this direction. It's not from side to side, but forward to back. And getting a good stretch there. So just stretch these out so I'm not quite as much need. This is great for
for me here because I can do this on both sides very easily. Just going to slowly come forward again, keeping the knee under my shoulder. Stretch. Now you'll get the most out of it if you can get a little bit here. You don't want to injure your back, so just loosely listen to your body. Since these are stretched out, I don't need to do the full 30 seconds, but as long as you can see the way that we do that. And then the last stretch is one mainly focused on the calves. We're going to go ahead and walk outside. I'm going to utilize a sign. It's very easy to do. Come along with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize this little bit of edge of curve here to let my calves open up. A lot of people will get very tight back here, and then also across the plantar region of the foot, plantar surface. You may have some people ever say to you plantar fasciitis. If you don't know what that is, it has a lot to do with the fascia, which is a connective material in your foot, being tight across this surface. So I'm going to stretch that out. In this particular instance, I'm going to go ahead and use the PNF from the outset, which is to say that I'm going to go up first. My goal is to stretch down, but I'm going to go up. And now I'm just going to sink slowly. I'm not pushing hard. I'm not pulling in that direction. And really all I'm trying to do is let my heels sink. Okay? I'm just going to sit in there for 15 to 30 seconds. Then I'm going to use the PNF again. Now instead of going all the way up, when I go for this stretch, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it up a little bit, just put a little bit of tension against, as though I were going to come up onto my toes, but not all the way. 3 to 5 seconds, or 3 to 5 breaths. And then just sink a little bit more. This is really good for opening up the gastrocs or the bigger muscles in the calf. Use those 5 stretches in combination before you run. You'll notice that you have a lot more easy movement across the hips and a lot less damage to your foot, knee, and hip because you're keeping those muscles open and fluid and able to move. So I hope this helps you, and we'll try to keep some more videos coming your way.